Have you ever looked at something old and thought it had no purpose left? What if I told you that forgotten teapots, weathered bricks, and even simple plastic bowls could turn into stunning garden borders and backyard fences? Welcome to Simply DIY, the place where everyday trash finds a second life. In this video, I turned old teapots, red bricks and plastic bowls into gorgeous small garden borders and backyard fences. You'll see ideas that might surprise you. Creative, affordable, and perfect for small gardens, patios, and tiny backyards. We've added timestamps so you can jump straight to the parts you need, and if you have questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Please remember, the images you'll see here are purely inspirational. If you love them, make them your own by using what you already have and adding your personal touch. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story and a real family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe. It truly matters. When you hit that subscribe button, you're not just helping a creator grow. You're helping a dream stay alive. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. Have you ever walked into a tiny backyard and felt as if every corner whispered a story? Imagine an old teapot, once forgotten on a dusty kitchen shelf, now finding new life at the edge of a small garden. Instead of pouring tea, it pours color, daisies, marigolds, petunias, blooming gently from its spout and lid. This is the beauty of turning ordinary items into extraordinary garden borders. A simple row of teapots, placed side by side, creates not only a unique edging but also a soft rhythm along the soil, guiding your eyes with playful charm. The herbs inside, rosemary, thyme, or fresh basil, release their fragrance when brushed by the breeze, making your garden not only a feast for the eyes but also for the senses. The magic lies in its simplicity. You don't need expensive tools or rare materials. Just a teapot, soil, and the patience to let life grow from something that once seemed useless. Each teapot tells its own tale. Each bloom becomes a reminder that beauty often hides in the most unexpected places. So the next time you look at that old teapot tucked away in storage, see it not as trash but as a gentle frame for your garden story. And when your neighbors pass by, they won't just see flowers, they'll see creativity blooming at the border of your little paradise. There's something timeless about the sound of footsteps on old red bricks. A small pathway winding through a tiny garden can turn even the simplest backyard into a place that feels alive with history. Each brick, perhaps chipped and weathered, carries its own story. Once part of a wall, a patio, or even a demolished house, now reborn as the foundation of a new memory. Laying bricks doesn't need to be complicated. Place them close together for a neat look, or leave small gaps to let moss, thyme, or creeping plants find their way through the cracks. Over time, nature softens the hard edges, and suddenly what was once just recycled material becomes a gentle, living path. A herringbone pattern can add elegance, while a simple straight line can bring calm order to a narrow space. Frame the edges with pebbles or tiny flowers, and watch how light and shadow dance along the surface as the sun moves through the day. What makes this idea special is its honesty. It shows how ordinary bricks, often discarded as trash, can guide the eye, the step, and even the heart through a garden. Every path is an invitation to walk, to pause, and to rediscover the beauty of moving slowly through your own backyard sanctuary. sometimes the smallest details are the ones that breathe life into a garden. Picture a simple wooden fence, plain and ordinary, standing silently at the edge of your yard. Now imagine topping each post with a burst of color. Plastic bowls, once forgotten in the kitchen, now shining under the morning sun like cheerful crowns. It's an idea that feels playful yet practical. The bowls protect the posts from rain, slowing the wear of time, while also turning a dull barrier into a canvas of creativity. Bright red, soft blue, pastel yellow, each hue dancing with the flowers that bloom beneath. This is the beauty of upcycling. Discovering that something as modest as a plastic bowl can spark delight when given a second purpose. You don't need special tools or costly materials. A touch of paint, a little imagination, and suddenly your fence tells a story, one of color, renewal, and joy. When neighbors pass by, they might smile without knowing why. And you, standing in your small backyard, will feel it too. The quiet magic of turning everyday objects into gentle expressions of home. An old teapot carries memories, afternoon teas, quiet mornings, maybe even laughter once shared at the table. But when its handle cracks or the lid no longer fits, it doesn't need to be hidden away. In the garden, that same teapot can bloom again, this time not with tea leaves but with flowers. Picture a porcelain teapot overflowing with pink petunias, its spout gently spilling color onto the soil. Or a rustic metal kettle, weathered by time, now cradling golden marigolds that dance whenever the breeze passes by. Each vessel holds not just a plant, but a second life, proof that beauty often lies in reinvention. The charm of using teapots as planters is their intimacy. Their small size makes them perfect for herbs on a patio step, or for a burst of color along a garden border. Drill a tiny hole for drainage, fill it with fresh soil, and plant seeds or seedlings that suit your climate. With just a little care, your teapot becomes a miniature garden of its own. It's simple, it's gentle, and it reminds us that creativity doesn't need grandeur. Sometimes, it's as small as a teapot filled with flowers, turning an ordinary corner into a story of grace and renewal. Patio is more than a place to sit. It is the heart of a backyard, where mornings begin with quiet coffee and evenings end with gentle conversations. Yet sometimes, what frames the patio matters as much as what rests upon it. Recycled red bricks, laid with care along the edges, give shape and definition, turning a simple space into one that feels complete. The charm lies not in perfection but in character. Weathered bricks, each with their own marks of time, form a border that whispers history while holding the present together. Line them close for a crisp, modern look, or leave a touch of space where wild thyme or creeping moss can soften the lines. Practicality meets beauty here. The bricks prevent soil from spilling into the patio, guiding plants to grow neatly in their beds, while also adding a subtle warmth that stone or metal rarely achieve. With just a few hours of work, your backyard can shift from ordinary to inviting, the kind of place that welcomes both family and solitude. And as sunlight falls across the brick edges, you may find yourself pausing, realizing that sometimes the smallest changes, the simplest boundaries, can create a space that feels like home all over again. There is a quiet joy in looking up and seeing life suspended in the air. What was once a simple plastic bowl, perhaps scratched or unused, can be reborn as a hanging planter that drifts gently in the breeze. From the patio, they sway above your head like colorful lanterns, except instead of light, they spill blossoms and greenery. Transforming these bowls requires little more than imagination. A coat of paint brings charm, while sturdy rope or wire allows them to hang from pergolas, tree branches, or even a simple fence beam. Fill them with trailing ivy, soft herbs, or flowers that spill gracefully over the edge, and suddenly the air itself feels alive with movement and color. What makes this idea special is its adaptability. In a tiny yard, where ground space is precious, vertical gardens become a gift. Hanging planters free the soil below while expanding the garden upward, creating layers of beauty that draw the eye skyward. And in those quiet moments, when sunlight filters through the leaves and the planters sway gently above, you realize that recycling is not only about saving waste. It's about lifting the ordinary into poetry, about letting something small remind us that even in limited space, life can always find a way to bloom. Water has a way of calming the soul, and when it flows from something familiar, the charm feels even deeper. Imagine an old teapot, once used to pour warmth into cups, now transformed into a tiny fountain where clear water spills endlessly from its spout. The sound is gentle, a soft trickle that soothes the garden like a quiet melody. This idea is wonderfully simple yet magical. A ceramic pot can rest on a stone basin, or a metal kettle can perch above a small pond. The steady flow of water nourishes nearby plants, attracts birds, and brings a sense of movement to spaces that often feel still. Even in the smallest backyard or patio corner, this feature becomes a centerpiece, drawing the eye and slowing the heart. The beauty lies not only in the sound and sight, but in the message it carries: renewal. Something once forgotten, perhaps dented or chipped, becomes a vessel of life once more. With a small pump, a few stones, and some care, you can create this gentle rhythm at home. And in the quiet of evening, when the air cools and the water continues its endless song, you will see how even the humblest object can transform a space into a sanctuary. A raised bed is like a frame for a living painting. When made from recycled red bricks, it carries both strength and character, giving structure to the garden while telling a story of reuse. Within its sturdy walls, soil feels deeper, richer, and ready to welcome life. Imagine stepping into a small backyard where lettuces unfurl their crisp leaves, tomatoes ripen to a deep red, and herbs release fragrance at the brush of your hand. All of this, lifted slightly above the ground, makes gardening easier. No bending too low, no soil spilling away. It's practical, yet it also feels like creating small islands of abundance within your yard. Raised beds built with bricks are more than just functional. They hold warmth from the sun, helping plants grow stronger, and their timeless look blends seamlessly into any space, whether rustic or modern. Over time, moss may settle between the bricks, softening the lines and making the garden feel even more alive. What's inspiring is how accessible this idea is. A few bricks, some soil, and seeds that thrive in your climate. That's all it takes to begin. And as the plants grow, you'll find that these little brick beds don't just nurture vegetables or flowers. They nurture a sense of peace, reminding you that even the smallest spaces can carry a harvest of beauty. When the sun sets, a garden can either fall silent in the shadows or come alive with light. Imagine stepping outside to find your pathway glowing gently, not with expensive fixtures, but with plastic bowls once destined for the trash. Painted softly, fitted with a simple solar light, they become lanterns that guide your steps with warmth. The beauty of this idea is in its accessibility. With just a few bowls, a touch of creativity, and a light source, you can turn any tiny garden into a welcoming evening retreat. Hanging them from branches creates a canopy of stars, while placing them along a fence frames your backyard in a glow that feels personal and inviting. These recycled bowl lights don't just brighten the space, they transform its atmosphere. Flowers illuminated at night appear almost magical, their colors deepened by the glow. Even the smallest patio can feel like an outdoor sanctuary, a place where conversations stretch longer and quiet moments linger sweeter. It's a reminder that design doesn't have to be costly or complicated. Sometimes, the path to beauty is as simple as turning what you already have into light. Gentle, practical, and endlessly inspiring. A fence often serves as a boundary, a quiet line that separates what is yours from what lies beyond. But with a touch of imagination, even a fence can become a canvas for creativity. Picture old teapots, ceramic, metal, or porcelain. Mounted along the wooden slats, their shapes playful, their colors shining under the daylight. What was once plain now feels alive with character. Some of these teapots can hold trailing plants, their green vines spilling gently as though they found a new home. Others may remain empty, painted in bright tones that echo the flowers blooming below. It's a way of turning forgotten objects into small works of art, each one carrying its own history yet now standing together in harmony. This idea is practical, too. Teapots are sturdy, weather-resistant, and surprisingly versatile. With simple screws or hooks, they can be fixed firmly, transforming your fence into a story wall that welcomes both laughter and curiosity. And when neighbors walk by, they will pause. They'll see not just a fence, but a collection of memories, repurposed and given new life. In that moment, your garden no longer hides behind wood. It smiles openly, offering a glimpse of beauty born from creativity. There's something timeless about gathering around a fire. The warmth, the glow, the quiet crackle of wood, it all pulls people closer together. Now imagine that fire framed by simple red bricks, each one recycled and arranged carefully into a circle. Suddenly, a plain backyard becomes a welcoming retreat, a place where evenings stretch longer and conversations linger. Creating a brick border around a fire pit doesn't demand perfection. Weathered bricks add character, their rough edges catching the light as flames rise. Set them snugly into the earth or stack them with care, and they'll hold both the fire and the memory of every moment spent nearby. What makes this idea practical is its balance of beauty and function. The bricks not only contain the fire safely, but they also provide a rustic charm that blends naturally into any garden or patio. Add a few chairs, scatter gravel beneath to keep the area clean, and you've built a space that invites comfort without cost. As the night falls, the fire dances against the bricks, casting soft shadows across the yard. And you realize, it isn't just about warmth. It's about creating a circle where stories are shared, laughter echoes, and the simple glow of recycled bricks turns ordinary nights into unforgettable ones. There is a quiet magic in welcoming birds into your garden. Their wings bring movement, their songs fill the silence, and suddenly the air feels lighter. With something as simple as a plastic bowl, this little miracle can be invited into even the smallest backyard. Picture a bowl, once forgotten in a kitchen cabinet, now tied with rope to a tree branch, gently swaying in the breeze. Inside, a scattering of seeds waits, and before long sparrows, finches, or even a curious bluebird arrive to feed. It's a gift both ways, nourishment for them, joy for you. This idea is practical in its simplicity. A drill for drainage, a sturdy knot to hold it steady, and seeds chosen to suit your local birds, that is all it takes. Some bowls can be painted with soft colors, blending with flowers or standing out like cheerful ornaments against a wooden fence. And as you watch the birds gather, pecking playfully, fluttering in and out, you realize the beauty of such a project is not just in recycling waste. It's in turning an ordinary plastic bowl into a bridge between home and nature, between your space and the wild that still lives all around it. A patio is often the stage where the garden meets the home, a place of rest and quiet gatherings. And sometimes, it is the smallest details that turn this stage into something memorable. Old teapots, no longer pouring tea, can be placed here as graceful companions to the space, their shapes carrying a sense of history and charm. Imagine a rustic wooden table with porcelain teapots, some holding fresh blooms, others simply shining in their worn beauty. On a shelf by the wall, colorful kettles sit side by side, each one painted or patterned in its own way, reflecting sunlight like small pieces of art. Their presence softens the patio, making it feel warm, lived in, and welcoming. The beauty of using teapots as decor is the freedom it gives. They can cradle herbs for a fragrant touch, act as planters for small succulents, or simply rest as ornaments that remind us of the past. Their curves and spouts bring whimsy, while their resilience shows how objects can live many lives. And in those still afternoons, when you sit with a book or a cup of coffee, these teapots stand quietly nearby, carrying stories without words. They remind you that beauty is often not bought but rediscovered, waiting patiently in the things we thought we no longer needed. In small gardens, every inch matters. Space is precious, and sometimes beauty is found not in how much we can add, but in how gracefully we can divide. Recycled red bricks, arranged in low lines, can create gentle boundaries that bring order to even the tiniest yard. Imagine walking through a backyard where herbs grow neatly in one section, flowers burst into color in another, and a patch of grass remains clear for rest. Each area flows into the next, guided softly by brick dividers that stand no taller than a few inches. Their presence feels natural, never heavy, as if they have always belonged there. This idea is more than practical, it is poetic. The bricks keep soil where it should be, prevent plants from spilling into each other, and frame each corner like chapters in a book. Over time, moss may weave itself into the cracks, softening the edges, making the divisions feel alive rather than rigid. The beauty of small space dividers lies in their humility. They ask for little but give structure, harmony, and balance. And when you pause to look at your garden, you will see not just plants, but a thoughtful design. One that shows how even the smallest spaces can carry depth, order, and quiet elegance. Every garden, no matter how small, has the power to welcome life. And sometimes, all it takes is a simple bowl of water placed with intention. A plastic bowl, once tucked away in storage or headed for the trash, can become a watering station where birds pause, butterflies rest, or even a wandering cat finds relief on a warm afternoon. Picture the way sunlight shimmers on the surface of the water, a mirror reflecting the open sky. Around it, flowers lean close as though they, too, are drawn to the calm it creates. The air fills with gentle wing beats as sparrows take turns dipping down, their feathers catching the light. What makes this idea so special is its simplicity. You don't need elaborate fountains or expensive accessories. Just a bowl, kept clean and refreshed daily, can transform your garden into a sanctuary not only for plants but for creatures who share your space. Some bowls can be set low in the soil, others raised on a small stand, each one a quiet invitation to life. And as you watch the first bird sip or a butterfly rest its wings at the edge, you'll understand. Beauty isn't always in what we build grandly, but in how we care for the smallest details. A bowl of water becomes more than refreshment. It becomes a gesture of kindness written into the heart of your garden.